Do not buy an EV until you've watched this full video.
The headlines about electric cars have been gloomy lately.
Today, we're diving into the hard, cold truth about the unique operational issues that haunt the EV landscape. We're dissecting the core problems, the battery, the bulk, the fire, and the frustrating tech that make that silent electric glide a potential nightmare for your wallet and your peace of mind. Stick around, because by the time we're done, you'll understand the real hidden costs of EV ownership, see the radical new tech that could finally make the electric future something a true auto geek can embrace, and then make an informed decision if you can handle an EV. Let's cut right to the core, quite literally, the battery pack. It's the EV's heart, soul, and, let's be honest, its single biggest liability. Forget an oil change. You're looking at a slow, inevitable march toward replacement costs that can eclipse the value of a mid-range ICE vehicle. Every single kilometre you drive, every charge cycle you complete, you're permanently reducing the battery's capacity. It's unavoidable calendar aging combined with cycle aging. You might get a warranty for 8 years, but once that clock runs out, the 70% capacity remaining is just the start of the downhill slide. Try finding a mechanic willing to swap a $15,000 to $20,000 power unit. It's a massive, specialized job that makes an engine swap look like changing a spark plug. And speaking of degradation, the battery's worst enemy is the environment. These high-performance packs have a Goldilocks zone for temperature, and when you leave that zone, things get messy. Extreme cold dramatically slows down the chemical reactions, leading to severe temporary range loss, sometimes 30 to 40% when the cabin is running its heater. Meanwhile, extreme heat is far more insidious. It accelerates the permanent chemical degradation of the battery cells, which is why EVs in hot climates tend to lose capacity faster over the long haul. The car's management system has to work overtime, drawing more power to heat or cool the pack, which further eats into that precious range. Next, the quest for range means strapping hundreds of large, heavy lithium-ion cells into the floor pan. This sheer bulk is a problem ICE cars simply don't contend with on the same scale. That extra weight, often hundreds of kilograms more than a comparable ICE vehicle, puts massive, relentless stress on the suspension and brake components. Sure, regenerative braking helps save the physical rotors, but the shocks, bushings, and control arms are constantly wrestling with the kind of inertia usually reserved for light trucks. If you drive like a proper enthusiast, expect that front-end suspension maintenance to come calling far sooner than in a lighter vehicle. But the most obvious casualty of all that instantaneous electric torque and mass is the rubber. These heavy machines, particularly with their silent instant launch power, shred tires at an alarming rate. You'll often be on the hook for specialized heavy-duty tires, often with acoustic foam, making them even pricier, and you'll be replacing them thousands of kilometers earlier than you would on your average sedan. For many, that means shelling out for new rubber every 25,000 to 30,000 kilometers. The average lifespan of regular tires typically falls in the range of 40,000 to 60,000 kilometers. An ICE fire is dramatic, but a battery fire is a chemical catastrophe. This is where the EV's unique problem becomes a severe public safety issue. When an EV battery is damaged, say from a severe collision, external heat, or manufacturing defect, it can enter a state called thermal runaway. This is a self-sustaining chain reaction where one failing cell overheats its neighbor, releasing flammable, toxic gas, and turning the entire pack into a jet engine hot inferno that is notoriously difficult to extinguish. The vehicle can burn for hours and, here's the kicker, reignite days later due to heat trapped deep inside the armored pack. Now, let's be fair, EV fire statistics often get sensationalized. Data from different sources, including studies looking at global EV fires from 2020 to 2024, generally suggest that EVs are actually less likely to catch fire than ICE vehicles, often by a significant margin. For example, Some US data indicates approximately 25 EV fires per 100,000 vehicles, compared to over 1,500 fires per 100,000 ICE vehicles annually. However, that data only tells part of the story. The key difference is the nature of the fire, the intensity that reaches temperatures over 1,200 degrees Celsius. The reignition risk, the toxicity from gases emitted, and the sheer volume of water, sometimes tens of thousands of liters, required to suppress the thermal runaway in an EV makes it a far more complex and terrifying challenge for emergency services. Finally, EVs aren't cars. They are essentially computers on wheels, crammed with more lines of code than a modern jet fighter. Everything is integrated, digital, and often proprietary. A simple sensor failure or minor body damage that affects the battery enclosure can lead to the entire vehicle being bricked by its own software. And while software updates can add features, they also introduce potential bugs, glitches, and cyber vulnerabilities. But more critically, when something goes wrong mechanically, or God forbid, you get into an accident, the repair bills can be astronomical. A minor fender bender that impacts the battery pack's housing, even if it doesn't puncture the cells, can sometimes lead to a total loss because replacing sections of the pack isn't always feasible, or it's just too expensive. High voltage systems require specialized tools and highly trained technicians. That means longer repair times, fewer qualified shops, and higher labor costs. Compare that to your buddy's '98 Honda Civic, which a shade tree mechanic can fix with a crescent wrench and a prayer. The complexity of EV tech isn't just a convenience, it's a potential financial black hole when things go sideways. So, we've laid out the grim reality, the degradation time bomb, the crushing weight, the unique fire hazard, and the technological complexity. These are not minor flaws. They are fundamental operational challenges unique to the current EV paradigm. But here's the honest-to-goodness truth. EVs are the future. It might make your blood boil, but the world is moving beyond the combustion chamber, and these problems, while significant today, are the growing pains of a revolutionary technology. The current lithium-ion battery pack is an imperfect solution, a clunky transition device, but the engineering is evolving fast. We're already seeing the next major shift coming with technology like sodium-ion batteries by CATL, which promise vastly improved thermal stability, cheaper components, and a less disastrous end-of-life impact. If you want a deep dive on how those might fix the fundamental battery flaws we talked about today, check out my other video on the CATL. Sodium-ion battery tech is genuinely exciting stuff. For now, the EV is a compromise of weight, a compromise of long-term battery health, and a compromise in fire management. But ask yourself this: is your loyalty to a volatile, 150-year-old combustion technology a rational choice, or is it just the last gasp of a hobby we refuse to let go of? And are you ready to buy an EV now?